panel discussion on Karnataka, the ITE destination. We are having the moderator and all the esteemed panelists. It's my pleasure to request the moderator, first of all, Srimati Dhanushri Dev Verma, to kindly come over. Director, Directorate of Information Technology and Biotechnology, Department of Information Technology, Biotechnology and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, and also the Managing Director of KBITS. Welcome to you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Srimati Dhanushri. I would also request Sri P.K. Das, Director, Software Technology Parks of India, Bengaluru. As we are all aware that from November 1st, Bangalore is Bengaluru. Welcome to you, sir, Sri P.K. Das. I would also request Sri Vinay Shenoy, Managing Director of Infineon Technologies India Private Limited. Welcome to you, Mr. Vinay. I would also request Sri Salil Godika, Co-founder and Executive Vice President of Happiest Minds. Welcome to you, Mr. Salil. And finally, Shri Mahesh Srinivasan, Senior Director of Fidelity Business Services Private Limited. Vanakkam and welcome to you, Mr. Srinivasan. Well, as we're all aware, we're already behind schedule. I'll not consume much time. It's straight away over to the moderator, Srimati Dhanushri Dev Verma, to take us through this session. Over to you, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen and esteemed panelists, today's intention of having this panel discussion with the topic ITE destination being projected as Karnataka was to highlight the policy level decisions that have been taken over time in Karnataka with the initiative of the state government and the IT department, and to have a panel discussion to get feelers from the industry as to whether Karnataka still holds the lead and the frontal position to have the attraction for the IT industry, the electronics industry. And in case, I hope that's not the case, in case we are falling behind and lagging behind in some areas, we would get an idea clearly as to what needs to be done in the future. And in that direction, I'd like all of you to know that Karnataka is one of the few states which has been taking policy decisions and policy formulation always in consultation with the industry, and through our IT Vision Group, which is headed by, as you all know, Shri Chris Gopalakrishnan, and many of the industry stalwarts being member of the same. It's just an example of how the state of Karnataka has ensured that all policy decisions have always been in consultation with the industry. Today we have with us Shri Prabir Das. Mr. P.K. Das is the Jurisdictional Director of Software Technology Parks of India, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Government of India. He belongs to Eastern India, and in Bangalore he did his Masters in Information Technology from USA and worked with the Government of Assam as the Police Communications Officer. He has also served as the Managing Director of Assam Electronics Development Corporation, the Director of Center for Electronics Design and Technology of India, the Director of DOEC, now NEELIT, the Co-Chairperson of ER and DCI, now CDAC, Extension Center, Development Commissioner for SEZ, IT and ITES. He has many publications in the proceedings of IEEE. With us, we also have Mr. Vinay Shenoy. He is the Managing Director of Infineon Technologies in India. In his role, he has been responsible for growing the business in India with sales and marketing and R&D reporting into him. He was appointed to his current role in February 2011. Infineon India is headquartered in Bangalore and with branches in Pune and New Delhi. I'd also like to mention that in his career spanning more than 21 years of diverse experience in semiconductors, consumer electronics, telecom, and broadcasting industry, Mr. Vinay has successfully handled multiple leadership roles in marketing and sales, new business creation, and innovation. He has led creation of new products and services, indigenously developed, industrialized, and launched products in India and emerging markets. We also have with us the esteemed presence of Sri Salil Godeka. He's the co-founder and Chief Strategy and Marketing Officer and Industry Group Head of Happiest Minds Technologies. Sri Salil has 18 years of experience in the IT industry across global product and service companies. His breadth of experience includes P&L ownership, marketing, vertical market development, product management, M&A, and alliances. He has extensive work experience in new business incubation from identification of operations. Prior to Happiest Minds, Salil was with Mindtree for 4 years as the Chief Strategy Officer. Before Mindtree, Salil spent 12 years in the US working for startups and large technology product companies. His accomplishments include incubating a new product to 30 million USDs in revenue, successful market positioning in multiple products, global marketing for $300 million business and multiple M&As. Sri Mahesh has over 18 years of experience in the industry. He has started his career in sales and marketing and then moved to IT industry. He spent 14 years over there. Last 10 years, he's been with Fidelity Investments, predominantly in IT delivery across various Fidelity businesses. In his present capacity, he is the Senior Director, Human Resources, and he heads talent acquisition for Fidelity in India across his operations, the company's operations in Bangalore and Chennai. He's also the head of HR operation functions for his firm in India. With such esteemed panelists, I'm looking forward to a very delightful discussion coming up. Before this program, we had a small discussion amongst ourselves, and we unanimously decided that we'll keep the session limited to half an hour amongst us, indicating few points of discussion to have a structured fruitful discussion, and thereafter we'll keep the floor open for questions. So if everybody's ready, we can start off. Okay, so my first question is a small experience that all of us, all the panelists can share about how your company decided on Karnataka and Bangalore to be your, the touch point, the start point, and what are the experiences of you to have started the company here itself in Bangalore and Karnataka, and whether any policy decisions of the government had helped you out, or whether it was just a matter of chance. What actually moved you to Bangalore? I'll start with Salil.
Hi. Good afternoon. So, before I answer this question, as I was coming in, I heard some numbers and it was mind-boggling. So I thought, I'm going to remember it. Maybe everybody could remember 40%. So what is that? 40%, or you could say 35 to 40% of total exports that we do out of India in IT services or in technology comes out of Bangalore and Karnataka. Amazing number. 40% of the people are employed here. 40% of new jobs in IT created here. And then another number, 30% of startup activities out all over India is coming from here. So amazing, right? I mean, where else can you look at this kind of an ecosystem? You got to be here if you're going to do things in this. So that's the context. Now, from Happiest Minds perspective, we are 3 years old. And when the company started, actually, there was a more broader question. Does the world need one more IT services company? And we were going to build something which was going to focus on disruptive new technologies. And we looked around and we said, where can we get that kind of talent? So anything outside Bangalore was not even a question. And just to give you a perspective, in 3 years, we have gone from 0 to 1,200 people. And obviously, lots of local talent, a lot of people who have moved from outside to join us here and relocated to Bangalore. So if, the kind of things that we were doing, I don't think anything else would have made sense. Another angle that we saw also was, I know we don't like infrastructure and all, and we'll talk about it, but at least where are we located? We are located in Electronic City, a great, building and campus we have. Because we were trying to build long-term culture. So the surrounding, the place where people come to work is very, very important. And it became very critical that we find the place. So luckily we were able to find a place actually where our building actually has and this is a story I'll tell you, is there is a small water body, lake kind of thing. And sometimes ducks and geese and all would come in. So the other day, somebody had taken a photograph of our conference room and overlooking outside were the ducks and all. And I showed this to my 8-year-old daughter. So she said, okay, Dad, now I understand why you spend so much time, at your work. You're always having a picnic, looks like. So, that's what drove us really to Bangalore.
That question exactly doesn't fit me. Probably I will tell from the experience of STPI and what I have learned from other industry who are associated with us. First of all, what I have been hearing from different people, different perspectives. Bangalore, particularly in Karnataka, we are mentioning Bangalore in particular, had some obvious advantages which made it happen. Firstly, everybody knows the climate. Climate attracted a lot. Then, for whatever reason, maybe it's a political reason or what, I don't know exactly, immediately after the independence of this country, Indian government's initiative to put up big manufacturing units, companies, they had taken decision to put up many very important organizations headquartered in Bangalore. As a result, it was about 10,000 engineers working in Bangalore even in 1960s, 50s, late 50s. So from there, it's a chain reaction. The next generation become 10,000 became 10 lakhs. But it was a natural flow. So once you take a lead, always you will find a snowball effect will happen. And that has occurred. So these are the natural advantages some people talk about. But that's okay, fine. At this point, the pertinent question is whether it will further grow or we need to be concerned about it. So it's a good time to analyze this thing because we all know it is growing. As he has said, 40%. Last year it was probably 38, 36. We know from STPI perspective that the export from Bangalore alone in STP units has increased about 8 to 10% compared to last year. It was 95,000 crores. This year it is 102,000 crores. So growth is there, undoubtedly, and it will probably continue. But how long? Will some drawbacks create problem? Are we actually having drawbacks? Policymakers at different levels in the government of India or state government are also looking at different aspects of dispersing the industry to tier 2, tier 3 cities. Is it really advantageous to go to tier 2, tier 3? Or still advantage lies in Bangalore? So that is also a question we need to think about. If from the industry perspective, it is still advantageous by removing some bottlenecks, some drawbacks, some disadvantages, can we do that? We need to think about that also. Instead of blindly deciding to go to a tier 2, tier 3 city. Because we have seen a place like Mysore, hardly 2.5 to 3 hours from Bangalore, has failed to attract industry. There are industry which actually has a liking for the region or they are originating from the region are only housing their setups there. But who are no way connected to Mysore are not going there. So how can we expect to grow some other tier 2, tier 3 cities if Mysore is not happening. So these are some of the issues we definitely need to analyze. We probably would learn from you as well what are the advantages and disadvantages at the same time. But I feel Bangalore definitely keeps on leading, and it will keep on leading for maybe at least a decade with the usual conditions. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Das. Coming to Vinay, Vinay, taking cue from the previous answers, why don't you tell us, with many problems that are associated with coming to a city which is already well established, the traffic problems, etc., leaving aside the climate, don't you think that coming to Bangalore is not really so attractive anymore? I mean, what made you set up shop here?
Good afternoon, everyone. Just for your information, I have been in this industry and in Bangalore, so that also explains why I continue to stay in Bangalore for the last 24 years. When I was with TI, I was one of the early employees of Texas Instruments. And you know, there is this famous photograph that we used to hang in a prominent area, a bullock cart carrying a satellite dish antenna about to be installed in our facility on Cunningham Road rather, on Millers Road rather. And VSNL being given a very small office inside our facility to operate it because the government regulations did not allow a multinational company to operate a 64 kilobits per second line. That's how we started. It was brought on a bullock cart, and we had a lot of difficulty figuring out how to take it to the terrace because there were no cranes that could lift it. So it was an interesting experience. Now, there was a time when Bangalore was still attractive. Even today, it continues to be attractive. And one of the reasons why way back in 1990, 1991, that Bangalore was attractive is because, of course, it was a city of about 4.8 million people, educational infrastructure was good. But I think most importantly, if you look back, did Bangalore get discovered in the 90s by IT companies? Definitely not. I mean, if you just walk back in time, look at the number of companies that had presence here. And I'm not talking about small, medium enterprises, but large companies, right? Mainly public sector. You had HAL, you had NAL, you had ISRO, you had, I can't even remember all of them. Of course, we had BEL, we had BHEL, and from the private sector, we had Kirloskar Electric, we had NGEF. So, BEML, if you add all of them up together, HMT, right? HMT, though not electronic, but employed about 8 to 10,000 people, I think together, for in the mechanical industry, about 45,000 people is what I understand. So the city already had, by the 80s and the 90s, nearly 150,000 people who are engaged in some kind of a technology or the other. It may not be electronic. HMT was into mechanical precision engineering. BEL was into electronics. BHL was into heavy electricals. NGF was in electricals. Kirloskar private sector. So I wouldn't call Bangalore was discovered in the 90s by the multinational company. It's always been there. Now, of course, when we began growing the organization, I was then with Philips as a part of the startup team. And a large number of the leadership that came with technology were actually stolen from the public sector enterprises. So there was a funnel of talent, experienced talent at the cost of public sector that the multinational gained. So you see, that was an inherent advantage that Bangalore had compared to, let's say, any other city. There was not such a large industrial base to pick talent from and introduce them into the IT industry. So that is one. Now it's about 25 years. Bangalore today is not. Now the big question is it desirable or is it inevitable? Today, no company has the choice of not being in Bangalore. Primarily because there's such a big critical mass. If you have to start something at short notice and grow and scale, because of the existing base of companies, it's easy to start up here. Now, the big question is that we had a discussion before the panel, was should we continue to grow Bangalore? Is that the right thing to do? Is there scope? When will it reach a point of diminishing return? Vis-a-vis, can you choose to ignore places like Mysore, Bangalore, Hubli? There are plenty of other tier 2 towns which have a population of at least 1 million, right? We are not talking about very small tier 2 towns, 1 million that have established trade and other industries. Like PK Das said, the experience of being in Bangalore for a private sector enterprise, there were, I think, there's only one company that has ventured into Bangalore and Mysore together. I don't want to name it, but you know. And they have struggled, like Piketa said. Bangalore, I think this company has been there for about 15 years, and they're finding it very difficult to grow beyond, I think, 8,000 people. So it should be about 10 to 15 years, but I think it's around that number. It's more than a decade old, definitely. Mysore also the same. Why aren't other companies going there? I think that's something that we need to debate. I spoke with one of the few entrepreneurs who gave up his fledgling career in IT industry and went to Hubli to start up a company. Now he's about 250 people strong. So he's somehow broken this myth that you cannot start up in a tier 2 environment. And he's an entrepreneur. I'm not even talking about a large company moving into a tier 2, which is much easier than someone trying to incubate something in a tier 2 town. There are difficulties, of course, and maybe during the course of the time, we will debate it. But Bangalore today, for any company, including the company that I am the managing director for today, is inevitable. We have choices of going to Pune, we have choices of going to Mumbai, Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida. But when you come to technology, for BPO and IT services and enabling services, there are better alternatives. But when it comes to technology, Bangalore is the destination, period. Is that good or not good is something that we have to judge, right? But today, that's the situation we are in. So maybe during the course of the rest of the conversation, we'll debate whether that's good. And also, I think we would really like some participation from the audience to bring about a thought-provoking discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, Mahesh, coming to you, you are leading a corporation which deals with financial services, etc. In terms of that, don't you think that for a company like that, moving to a smaller city or a city which is not as big as Bangalore is pretty easy with the connectivity being available to almost all cities now, with the infrastructure which may not be as good as a metropolitan, but still not so bad, talent available in terms of many engineering colleges spread across Karnataka. Why is it that still cities like Bangalore, cities like Delhi are still being taken as, the places to be in? And even though the policies, like in Karnataka, the policy initiative is to ensure that the incentives are given to move out of Bangalore. Our stamp duty tariff concessions that are available, that are not available for companies buying land in Karnataka, in Bangalore, they are available for outside, in Mangalore, Mysore cities, etc. So in spite of such policy initiatives available, still, what is it that we need to do so that these cities also become attractive?
I think they look for talent availability, and if it's readily available, you just want to move in there and establish yourself rather than reinventing the wheel, go to a new place and then come up the hard way, which is, I think, at the end of the day, corporations do not want to do that unless there is an incentive to go beyond what is already available. So I would imagine that is what is driving this. And it's always easy to say you have a first mover advantage, but in this case, I think first mover advantage going to a tier 2, tier 3 may not be there. At least history has not been stating that. And taking from what Vinay was saying, if companies in tier 2 and tier 3 are struggling even to this day, then there is something about this city, about this place, about the talent availability, the cosmopolitan nature of this city, and the very fact that it's a very welcoming city unlike many other cities. And we are all in the comfort zone. The joke in the corporate world is we always say we should move out of our comfort zones. But when it comes to establishing centers like this, we probably want to be in our comfort zones, is what I would think.
May I add? Yeah, sure. While I was talking to my colleague who's in Hubli, he worked in the US for a long time, had an international career. So I asked him, what makes you stay with Hubli and what are your challenges of retaining people? He said, Vinay, first thing, look at the people that you're trying to attract to a tier 2 town. You can always look at growing local talent, young talent, but that is also a challenge because everyone wants to be in Bangalore because of the number of malls and the entertainment that you have possible in the evening. But he said to attract senior leadership, senior people from outside into the city, that's where it starts. You have to build the right leadership team that can then create a vision and attract young population. He said, education system. Do you have the expectation from such people who are used to either multinational way of working or in large cities like Bangalore or even the US, will expect a good quality education system. Number two, the housing for such people. You can always argue whether it's the right thing to do or not. They need comfortable housing where there are birds of a feather, similar mindset people that can spend their evenings together. And these are what I call as the hygiene factors. Today, you go to Hubli. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a backward town, but does not smell of an IT city. Connectivity is a challenge, but they don't talk about the infrastructural issues. But purely, if I'm an employee, if I have to take my family to Hubli, one, I would expect my family to have a good time in the evenings or over the weekends, so there has to be enough opportunities to find some entertainment or leisure. And second, of most importance is for those that are in the middle ages and have growing children, is the quality of education that you can get. I think if these two are met, you already have addressed a large part of the barrier that it poses to move to tier 2 city. And the rest of it is, of course, how do you retain local talent locally and not create an incentive for them to come to Bangalore. I know this company that I talked about in Bangalore pays the same salary and exactly the same working conditions to its engineers in Bangalore as in Bangalore. So there is no salary differential. And with the cost of living a little lower than in Bangalore, I imagine, you still can save more. And Bangalore is not a bad place either. But I think there are still some intrinsic issues. One, to attract talent from outside, and second, to retain talent within. I think this will be a gradual process of 10 to 20 years, but it's a pity that we keep asking these questions, is tier 2 city the right approach or not? To me, it's inevitable. Bangalore cannot grow beyond a certain point in time. Now, recently, we read in papers, one of these IT companies that was given land in Devanahalli to develop refused it because it's too far away from Bangalore. Now, you can imagine, it's not easy, right, even for companies to do so. So that resistance will stay, but it's over a period of time that infrastructure, education, livelihood, lifestyle has to be developed. And that is where I think identifying 6 or 7 different tier 2 towns in Karnataka to develop, probably it's distributing your effort too much and distributing your investment too much. Maybe the Chinese model where you focus on 1 or 2 tier towns could be ones that have already made some progress like Mysore and Bangalore, just because it came to my mind just now, should be invested, and if identify them as focal tier 2 towns for development over the next 5 to 10 years, and invest a lot. I think the reasons why people don't go there or why people don't stay there are very clear. It's about what is being done to address. This is not rocket science, right? I mean, Mysore is a nice place to go. If you can spend 3 days there, the big question is, am I willing to spend 3 years there, and what does it take? You just have to ask the right people who are your candidates to go to those places, and then invest. Rather than taking newer towns like Hubli, Tumkur, I think there are quite a few new places being conceived. I think the investment is too meager in such a case to develop the necessary infrastructure. Yeah, thank you.
I'd just like to add here whatever I have said earlier. I forgot to mention another advantage of Bangalore, Karnataka in general, is the acceptability of Karnataka to the outsiders, which is a big issue, which is not there in many other places. And that helps any outsider to come here and feel like being a Bangalorean. The way people go to US and feel he is an American, whoever goes there likes to feel that he is an American. Similarly, when people come to Bangalore, they like to feel that he is Bangalorean. So that is not very common in other places. So these attractions automatically creates advantage for Bangalore. And definitely it will keep on growing. Now I'm coming to a different aspect. See, the situation what Bangalore is facing today in a different way is being faced by Silicon Valley as well. People are now trying to move out of Silicon Valley. It's becoming extremely costly in terms of rented houses or owned houses, cost of living. So in US as well, they're trying to develop other hubs. Austin has become a very prominent new hub, or even Houston is trying, or they're like other eastern cities are also trying. So this is a very natural thing, and there, it's not that government of United States is deciding on this issue, what should be developed next, but it's a usual growth. And that, of course, will happen in Bangalore as well. When people will find that affordability has gone beyond their limit, they definitely will move out and would like to have a job in some other place to make their life more comfortable. That's a natural thing that will happen, and although we are on the government front, we try to make policies to create things in a way, in an artificial way, and always we will try to do that as much as can support it. But my personal feeling is these things are not very much design oriented. It's a natural consequence which happens.
Coming to the issue of talent, everybody agrees that being the capital. Everybody agrees that being the capital, of course, it will thrive on talent that is being created by the educational institutes. Most of the best educational institutes will ideally be within the capital, and it will also draw talent from outside. But to that effect, I would want all of you to know that Karnataka government is taking a lot of initiative in skill development. It has been over and again mentioned that there is a gap between the graduates that are coming out from our engineering colleges, from our educational institutes, versus their immediate employability into the companies. We have something called the IT Skill Development Society. Now we've renamed it as the ICT Skill Development Society, which will be spearheading all the operations of skill development, which has now, of course, come to the fore with the new government in the center, which has also emphasized skill development. So we are not only working towards skill development in the IT, ICT area, but also in the ESDM area. We've recently got 14 crores of Government of India funding to be training 15,000 youth in the coming 4 years. We are only amongst the 6 states who have got this funding till now, and we've already initiated the first round of training program to mobilize youth as well as the industry representatives to know about the present training. With such kind of emphasis being laid on training and ensuring this training is available even at the tier 2 cities, in fact at the district headquarter levels, wouldn't that talent pool be best utilized within that ecosystem itself rather than having to travel all the way? In addition, my question would be that won't you think that there are a lot of disruptive technologies available which ensure that small IT firms can start up shop in a very small way, in a very dispersed way? The Karnataka government's model of RBPO, rural BPOs, was not very successful till now. But in collaboration with the industry, we are soon going to the cabinet to get a new policy approved, where we have taken inputs from organizations like Desi Crew and Rural Shows, which have been very successful, I would like to say, that in the implementation of this model. With some kind of a model like this, wouldn't you say that things can become more possible and we don't need to have a central office in Bangalore, and it can be more dispersed, it can be more equitably spread? Salil, how would you want to respond to that?
You know, I think you have raised a good point. Really, we all talk about technologies and all that, and in a way technologies, while when we are trying to sell this to our end customers. But I guess what you're saying is, hey, why don't we eat our own dog food? Why don't we deploy it in our own businesses to make, you know, the infrastructure problem will remain. It isn't going to go away, so we can complain or do something about it. Or we could, you know, similarly have dispersed teams. How can dispersed teams still work effectively? All these technologies around unified communication, mobility, cloud, all those could very well be used to create a different way of working versus the way, you know, traditionally we all have been working. Automation and so on and so forth. So I think that's bang on. We have to figure it out how to, you know, how do we use these? And I think that's a responsibility of the industry, obviously the government can guide, but I think that is where our innovation can be, pointed towards this thing. But, having said that, there is an interesting little different thing, when you were saying talent and all that, this Sunday, I went to a coffee shop, 11 a.m., Sunday morning, and, it is fully packed. Every seat is taken. Obviously people might be drinking coffee, but, you want to guess what are all those meetings about? Everyone has their laptop open, every place. So I'm sure people are discussing their businesses, ideas and all that, and that is what is energizing. Because these are the seeds, these are in a way, and I don't want to use the quote unquote young people, but people with fresh ideas, energy, and they are going to bring those transformation for us. And if that is kind of thing is happening here, I'm sure they are going to stick around for a number of years to come. So, I think disruptive technologies combined with the ecosystem and energy is really where probably we are going to go and solve there are broad problems of the infrastructure and all that.
I have a question now for Vinay. Vinay, you talked about pumping in money, having the infrastructure in place. My question is that a lot of cities came up on their own. The government did not have to invest in the seed infrastructure. The government did not think of it that it will be Bangalore in the coming 40 years or so. It just happened. What is stopping similar trends to happen now, especially from the learning that we have had from the last 40 years? Also, my question is that in spite of having government funding available for large infrastructure projects, for example, the ITIR, even we have cold feet in going beyond Bangalore. We are looking at nearby, the ITIR is right next to the Bangalore airport area. Why not have that investment far away and build up a new city there? Why have cold feet? I'm sure that the industry interest is also being reflected in that choice. For example, I'd like to mention the ESDM cluster policy which Government of India is following. And we already have 2 in-principle approvals for brownfield clusters. We are going for brownfield clusters in Bangalore and Mysore. And there is a brownfield cluster in Pune. Only Vasant Narsapura is going to be a greenfield cluster for which we are moving in that direction, working in that direction. So with such kind of investment, don't you think that it is possible to build new townships, and especially if it's done on a PPP mode, the industry as a consortium can come over and invest in a long-term goal, not in their comfort zone and coming 4 years, So what is your response?
Well, there are two dimensions. One, you talked about IT, and why are we developing cold feet beyond, as an industry, going beyond Bangalore. So we have to own some responsibilities too. And the second one is the electronic system design and manufacturing, which perhaps does allow us some opportunities to go beyond Bangalore, because then the economies of scale, the costs really drive hard. But let me answer the first question. When we set up TI in 1985, when I joined them in 1990, with a 64 kilobits line, we were about 85 people on a 64 kilobits line. Now imagine my colleagues sitting in Dallas, having to monitor and manage the output of an organization that's 12 hours time zone away. And even when I joined TI in 1990, we could not directly dial to the US. We had to place a urgent, regular, or a lightning call. And lightning call would mean 7 times the cost, but you get connected in 7 minutes, only to be disconnected in the next 1 minute, and you have to place the call again. Now, how is it that even in early 90s, we could organize an effective offshoring across 12 hours time zone difference with such limited technology? Now, we are going through the same phase. Now, as an organization, why are we hesitating so much to even find, and we even find working with tier 2 companies so difficult, when US companies took that big leap of faith and decided to work with India despite limitations, despite connectivity issues, and they proved it to be an effective model over the next 20 years. I think that vision we as leaders in the IT industry should have. If my global organization can take that risk and have the vision to offshore activities thousands of miles away, why can we as an India organization, India leadership, have the vision to outsource a few 100 kilometers away? Now, it does, of course, require establishing certain processes, controls, and technology. But that is not a showstopper. We just have an easier option. And I think we are choosing to go with the easier option. You talked about the low risk route. And if there is an incentive, again, maybe I'm jumping too much on the incentive part, but there has to be some reason, and maybe time will tell. I, for one, would not be very surprised if I were to reconsider if Infineon would invest in, let's say, manufacturing at some point in time, or design-led manufacturing, that we choose to go outside Bangalore, either between, let's say, Bangalore and Chennai, or look at other sectors, and set up something in between. I'm very open, but again, we don't reflect the large population, which can make a difference. Now, there are companies in this country, global as well as local companies, who require thousands and tens of thousands of people. Now, it's also my urging to them to start looking at overcoming. If they established their organization with a model of offshoring and remote services, they should be, as an own organization, be able to remotely outsource or outsource to their own organization elsewhere in the city or elsewhere in the state. It need not be Karnataka alone, but a few hundred kilometers. So it's possible. I think it's a mindset issue today, to a great extent. And we have to figure out what does it take, who needs to be kicked where, really. And I'm sure we take complete responsibility as an MD. I would really urge my colleagues to look at tier 2 companies. You know, there are some trailblazers. I talked about this company in Hubli. And for those of you who know technology, analog mixed signal, as it's called in the technology world of semiconductors, is a very complex, sophisticated, and a very niche area. Now, this gentleman operating out of a BVB engineering college, because he had no space, there was no IT park at that time in Hubli. Maybe there was, but not functional. But did set it up and grew it to 125 people over the 5 years. So that is visioning, right? He has a vision, and then you can make it work. So I think many of us still need to have similar vision for tier 2 cities to be successful. On the ESDM sector, yes, it's a combination of design and manufacturing. Tremendous incentives are being provided from the government, both central government as well as the state government, to set up design and manufacturing of electronic systems. And that is another opportunity where we no longer, as Bangalore or Karnataka, are focusing on IT outsourcing, IT services, BPO, being captive centers, engineering centers of multinational companies. ESDM and the focus of the government does provide us as an industry an opportunity to venture beyond services and start thinking about electronic systems development for the local market as well as for the global market. I think that entire industry can be encouraged to move out of Bangalore, and they have a very strong need to move out of the city because the real estate prices are very high. And of course, you need a large number of different diversified people from ITI, trained people for running the factories, to diploma holders, to engineers. So I think I'm hoping that ESDM industry will take this big leap of faith to go out of large cities into tier 2 towns.
I support this thing that, first of all, for a big company, it is much easier to go to tier 2 because they don't lose their customers, they don't lose the market. I have walked in less developed areas where we tried all the way to promote industries, and even the industry, the entrepreneurs tried so hard with their all capabilities to work from very remote areas. But the problem is even customer does not accept them. The moment they say that my unit is in Bangalore, then only exporting, his scope of exporting comes in. A customer in US knows Bangalore. He doesn't know even maybe Kolkata. So that's a big problem. So for the small industry, it is very essential to be around Bangalore rather than big industry. So it is the big industry who can take a lead of going to tier 2, tier 3 cities rather than asking the smalls to operate from there. That is number one. Number two, as he has said, ESDM industry will definitely do this because ESDM industry will have a huge domestic market where this differentiation will not come, where he exists, where he operates from. So if you are looking at an export condition, it's very essential that you are from a good, renowned location. That's a big disadvantage for startups.
Um, Coming to, I have a question for Dr. Das itself. Um, since STPI has done such wonderful work in incubation, and I'd also like to say that Government of Karnataka in its I4 policy has also announced lots of initiatives and lots of incentives for making Karnataka not just the IT and services capital, but also the innovation capital. So I think going beyond coming to the disruptive technologies as well, there is a lot of emphasis that needs to be provided to take the lead in the innovation area, having to ensure that the startups that are coming up, like you said, the smaller companies, they can actually start up wherever they are. In that direction, we are presently operating something called the New Age Incubator Network, which loops amongst 9 engineering colleges outside Bangalore. None of these 9 colleges are inside Bangalore. They are located in Shimoga, Tumkur, Bagalkot, and various other tier 2 cities. And these colleges, we have earmarked 30 lakhs annually, additional 10 lakhs annually for administration, and 3 lakhs for each project, up to 10 projects, as financing from the government of Karnataka. This is a 3-year program, and we've already ensured that these colleges get exposure to mentoring, they get exposure to the industry representatives, to the best of the incubators that are functioning in Bangalore itself, right from Ginserve to Microsoft Ventures, as well as our own NASCOM 10K program. So we are ensuring that the culture of startups, the culture of innovation is not just restricted to Bangalore alone, but is spreading across the state, and that will also create, wouldn't you agree, Dr. Das, a multiplier effect. So
Yeah, of
if
course.
you could just...
I fully agree if you are talking about an innovative startup. An innovative startup can be anywhere in the country and they will succeed. Most of the IT units who has grown and are doing huge export are not innovative at all. They have acquired knowledge and they have the ability of solving problems. Problem solving doesn't need a very innovative approach. It's a knowledge-based issue. So, if you are talking about supporting startups with an innovative sense, then you definitely can disperse all over the country and you can pick up people from any location. That will work very well. And we should do that.
Could you also elaborate on what STPI is doing
sure,
in
sure.
Bangalore and outside?
Like, see, we are still thinking that Bangalore will go further. And as such, we are still trying to bring in new things into Bangalore. We all know that ESDM industry is growing. We are trying to create more and more ESDM entrepreneurs. We are coming up with proposals like creating VLSI incubation facility, where a startup ESDM company can utilize common facilities set up by STPI at a very affordable cost to use all kind of tools they need, and they will be supported through funding for procurement of the IPs they need, even to go to the extent of subtle manufacturing cost they need to meet. All these supports will be provided, and when they succeed, there will be a model of sharing of royalty or revenue sharing, or paying back the investment that STPI has done exactly on them over the period when they become successful. So we are trying to develop a model like that, so to help startups in the ESDM sector. Similarly, we are also trying, STPI has come up with a very innovative proposition in a sense, to not to just limit our incubation facility within the country, because what we have seen, the other problem the startup companies, even innovative startup companies in this country is facing is the funding. Because the venture funds that are available within the country are actually not looking for ideas to be supported, but looking for successful business model to be supported. So it's just a business investment for them. Whereas in US, like in Silicon Valley, what happens? the angel investors look for ideas. That if this particular idea has a huge scope of being successful, I will put money on the idea itself. So that environment has not grown in this country. So why don't we bring in that support from US to our startup companies? How can we do that? We can showcase our abilities in the startups and also give them facility to be available in US without having their own offices or things like that, maybe a virtual presence, or even a physical presence if they want to do a one-to-one interaction. So we are thinking of putting up a incubation facility in San Jose in US, within the heart of Silicon Valley as well. So that's another way we are trying to go one step ahead.
Mahesh, why don't you tell us the emphasis that is being given in Karnataka to ensure that it's going to be in the future the startup capital, not just of India, but hopefully in the next 10 years for the world as well. How does this impact the financial industry? What are the multiplication factors that are there? And what is your company's lookout? How these technologies will impact you in the future?
I think the financial services industry itself has gone through its own challenges in the recent times. So, I mean, customers are looking for stability and and things like that. But having said that, I mean, unless you innovate and unless you compete and ahead of your competition, customers are not going to come to you. So, I think the idea generation needs to happen somewhere, right? And the initiative that you spoke about the 10K program which you're kicking off. Maybe you should talk about that in the next segment, right? Where innovation can come from any part of the state. It need not come from Bangalore or one of the bigger cities, right? And then corporations like ours can definitely partner with such organizations, entities, and take this forward and develop it into a product, for instance. So I think innovation can come from anywhere, and I don't think there are any more barriers to innovation because technology is available for everybody, right? And at a click of a button. So I think that's how we will be able to probably take advantage of what's happening out there. And it need not be restricted to the confines of Bangalore city, for instance.
Just an announcement that was made in the morning today. Government of Karnataka with NASSCOM has been running for the last almost 2 years a program called the 10,000 Startups Program. It's an incubation facility come a network incubation where startups from across the country can log on, register themselves and have can avail of opportunities of networking, of various events, mentoring sessions with the industry stalwarts in the startup ecosystem. And they are running a 10,000 square feet facility available in Bangalore in Airport Road. They have already churned out 24 successful startup companies in the last 24 months. They have got investments to the tune of millions. They have also, to their accolade, they have successful startups that have been acquired by major firms. Taking this success as a cue, Government of Karnataka is investing almost 6 crores each financial, starting from the coming 2 months, when we'll have a 50,000 square feet startup incubation facility, again being mentored by NASSCOM and Government of Karnataka. And we are hoping that this itself would be a leading factor in bringing more startups from across the country to make Bangalore and Karnataka their home. In that respect, I have a question for Salil, that how do you think these developments will impact organizations like Happiest Minds?
Actually, one of the things, if you see in this, what every organization seems to be doing, and I'm just saying it seems to be the flavor of the year, every company is saying, hey, I'm going to incubate new ideas. And it could be within my company, it could be outside. So obviously, I think we have, probably we are at the peak of its hype right now in terms of the incubation. But it also means that, it also reflects how important it is. Because if that is, again, the lifeblood for future, and for somebody like us who is in this business, it couldn't have been better. Because it is all about attracting talent. This all business is about expertise. I think future will all be about expertise. It's not about number of people, it is about expertise. How do you deploy all these technologies? So how do we get it? Unless there are startups where essentially it is a training ground, right? We all would go there, we would, some would fail, whatever, but at least there is great learning. And that essentially comes back and spawns the new thing. So I think it is, if startups aren't happening, I think we would actually become more, what could happen is you could be appended by some new city, small city. And that's what I'm really afraid of, right? I'm saying Bangalore as a thing. I don't think we will ever have an issue with another tier 1 city in India coming and competing. But there could be a smaller city that could emerge from scratch, planned well, and which is only focused on one area, say. But then that area will become a magnet for attracting all the people right there. And suddenly, we would become what we would call a legacy city, legacy systems. So startups essentially, are the ones which would probably keep Bangalore where it is right now.
I think with that, we've set the stage for having some round of questions from the audience.
Yeah, I'm right now working in mechanics, but basically I'm from Industrial Commerce Department. Actually, I see these major public sectors. They don't do any manufacturing at all. They depend for manufacturing only on small-scale industries. Many of the most of public sectors. I wonder what's happening in the IT. That earlier we used to say that organization, then subcontracting, like that members, we do it in the other industry, mechanical industries. In the IT, for example, I have built up so much infrastructure that tied to cities, where probably you are paying, I see in the boards here, 50 rupees per square foot. Whereas in the IT park at Shimoga or Gulbarga, our charges is practically minus 5 rupees. Though we collect 5 rupees, we spend 10 rupees on maintenance. That's being reimbursed by government. With that, why acceleration is not taking place in the IT field at a lower city to earn, practically in mechanical, why they do it for acceleration is because to save the cost. When the manufacturer comes to 100 rupees in the HAL, when they offload it, they get it for 50 rupees or 30 rupees. For that only they do give it for subcontracting. Similarly, why it's not happening? Similarly, I have seen some of the rural BPOs promoted by DIT. They were doing this anxiety work only. I have seen that Bagalkot and others, they were taking workload, data load from Infosys and other major companies. They did it for 2 years. Afterward, they stopped giving the workload. Now they have stopped it. Will this aggregation or subcontracting really work with the IT industry? That's what I want to know. Yeah, from the panel.
Well, I just remember, HMT had about 8,000 people, I understand, on its roles, but the number of people that were associated with HMT as suppliers, small ancillary industries, was 3 times more. Yeah. Now that leverage HMT created with, and also BL and other industries, right, even BHEL, that the IT industry has not managed to. One, because the supply chain is very simple. The only supply item to an IT industry is a human being. And as long as the human being is trained enough, you can employ the human being. In training, of course, IT does use external partners significantly. But besides training, and I don't know, on the financial side, we don't use too many services. But again, on the secondary supply chain that feeds computers, desktop, networking, etc., there is some outsourcing. But for the main business, like an HAL that would outsource, or BEML that would outsource for its own product, that has not happened in the IT industry, partly because of the way it's organized. The value chain is very short. You just need to get a person on board, train that person for 3 months, and that person becomes very productive. And I think the industry is not, maybe I can be corrected here, is itself not very amenable for outsourcing. Now, you could always turn it around and say, if I get, let's say, 1,000 person work, is it possible to outsource 200 person work to a small company? That will happen when there is a specialization. So I think going to smaller companies will only happen when there is a specialization. If BEML believes or HMT believes there is someone who can produce gears at a lower cost with a better quality than itself, there is a natural tendency to outsource. Now today we have to see whether in our IT industry that opportunity does exist. But again, if it's only about cost, it doesn't work. The effectiveness should not go, because Mr. Pikeda said the perception of global outsourcing companies towards India, if you go anywhere away from Bangalore, there's a perception of low quality, cannot understand what they're doing, cannot reach them anymore. It takes days to reach that place. So the confidence level is low. But I think within the industry itself, for it to outsource to someone else, there has to be certain special expertises that have to reside, based on which outsourcing takes place. For example, my company, I talked about this Hubli-based company. We outsource because there's expertise there. It's not just a bunch of people that I anyway can hire in Bangalore, that this company then manages to hire in Hubli for maybe 20% less. There is no significant value addition besides saving 20% of the labor cost. So this company is successful in Hubli because it has expertise. And companies are willing to go to them despite the distance, because they have expertise and I don't have the expertise. It's easier to go to them. I think these pockets of expertise have to be created in the IT industry that then draws large companies to be just integrators rather than vertically building everything on their own, which today is the model, right? You hire a young grad, train that person for 3 years, and then employ, and then you start delivering. It's a very vertically integrated company. I would say primitive form of thinking. And today, many of the industries, even Boeing outsources to TCS a lot. I think Boeing also outsources to a couple of companies in Pune for fabrication of seats, I understand. Now imagine a European company that outsources to a facility in Pune for aluminum extrusions. The IT industry somehow has not figured out how to extend its network. So maybe we are not as developed as an industry, though we look high-tech. But in terms of processes, when I said ability to go outside tier 1 and still manage 2 centers which are 500 kilometers away, that seems to be a challenge. Outsourcing to other expert companies and developing this network of smaller companies that can deliver services to me, and I primarily do the integration. That model has also not developed. It's still a very vertically integrated company as an industry. So perhaps limitations may have to be involved, but there's a thought for something that we have to really think seriously about. Why have we not evolved like the mechanical industry or other industries?
No, particularly low technology, not the high technology.
I would like to add to what he has said. It's not that outsourcing doesn't happen at all. And it will definitely happen in the electronics sector. Because the biggest fear of a IT company is to lose the job to his outsourced agency. Because as he has said, it is manpower intensive industry. If they know what job has been given to them by some customer, they also can do the same thing. So it has to be a very vigilant environment under which most of the software development companies work. They don't let any secrecy be leaked out. This is very serious. That is one issue for which they don't involve others. Now, very big companies, when they get a deal from their customers, they sometimes do outsourcing because they are not afraid of it. Because the kind of customers with whom they work are not going to these small companies at all. They will talk to that level of companies, so they can outsource. So that is one issue. And in most of the cases, in mid-level issues, it is the customer who dictates that you cannot do that kind of outsourcing. You have to do all these things within this defined environment. So that restricts them from outsourcing. But it will definitely happen and is already happening in case of electronics. Because in electronics, that fear is not there. If somebody can manufacture a component, he definitely is not fit to make the whole equipment. So that fear is not there, and people do outsource.
Hi, this is Senthil Kumar. I'm mentoring around 200 girls in my native place, Madurai, to motivate them to become entrepreneurs. Actually, to fill the gender gap in the research and technological field. Example, here also there is 4 out of 1, not 4 out of 4 girls. So there are only 1 girl present in front of me. So I want to fill that gap. So I'm mentoring those girls in my tier 2 cities, because the opportunities are, all startup opportunities are available in tier 1 cities like Chennai or Bangalore. So I literally mentored them for 6 months, and out of it, I'm able to start 10 companies. 10 teams started their companies. But they are still in a tier 2 city, they are not getting any visibility. Okay, they have an idea. I'm asking them to come to travel to Bangalore for all the pitch event, even though I invited one team here in IBM Hackathon, so they are participating in that event. Okay, so I want them, all these girls should get a visibilities like people in tier 1 cities, and they equally get opportunities. Because when I started mentoring them, they have a lot of potential. But the thing is, no one is coming down from here, tier 1 to tier 2 to mentor them. So I dedicatedly do this. Like I'm working in Qualcomm as a research engineer. Every Saturday, Sunday, I used to travel to Madurai, okay, to mentor them. So I thought that one initiation because these girls has a lot of potential, but the thing is, their life going to end in the kitchens. Okay, I don't want
Have
to
you,
make it there.
have you heard of VTech?
Yeah, I'm part of the VTech only.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So,
In that,
so I think initiatives
you,
like that.
you are in that meetup, I know that.
So in such initiatives and through initiatives like New Age Incubator Network, you should ensure that they get exposure to the initiatives that are being taken. And beyond this also, I mean, I did not know about VTech till I attended that conference.
Yeah.
So there is a lot out there, and the leveling impact that IT has had in exposing the youth from tier 2 cities and beyond to the opportunities that are available, it's creating a leveler effect. And I think that has a lot of impact as compared to it would have been last 10 years back.
Actually, thing is, I'm started mentoring in the VTech
Can
program.
you come to your question again?
Yeah. I started in the VTech program, okay? I request them like, I'm from Madurai, okay? I want to execute a similar program in my hometown, but they simply told no. We only focusing in India, Bangalore, okay?
I think their main event is in Bangalore, but they got a lot of people from Coimbatore as well. So I think what you're trying to suggest is that to have opportunities like this available across the board, and we will take that as a feedback, and we'll ensure that.
Yeah, the thing is...
I think we'll go to the next question. I think, yeah. There was a question in the first row. Yeah.
You know, I was in the early part of the discussion, and where I heard about this discussion of taking, you know, this IT to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and there are a lot of programs happening like in Mysore, Mangalore, Hubli, the Department of Karnataka, IT also did the program. What I essentially feel is the moment, you know, someone thinks of moving out of Bangalore, then why are we saying that, you know, the mindset is about how do we take people from Bangalore to Mysore? The moment I keep my mind open, okay, let me move out of Bangalore. I'm going to look at Pune. I'm going to look at maybe Vijayawada. I'm going to look at Hyderabad. I'm going to look at the entire India. So the point that I'm trying to make it is, how do we look at Mysore not competing with, you know, Bangalore, but competing with the other regional centers, which are emerging very fast. They have great infrastructure. They have quality of life and all those things that we look for. And then when we map, you know, Mysore with the other leading cities from the other leading states, then probably we'll find answers to some of the questions as to how we can, you know, ensure that the growth happens in those
Vinay,
sectors.
you want to answer that?
Amongst tier 2 towns, there definitely is competition. When the moment you decide to move out of Bangalore, you have choices whether to move to Bhubaneswar. PK Das was saying Bhubaneswar is also developing very well. You have Pune, though not a tier 2, well, like a tier 2, where significant investments was made in Chinchwad, I think, for developing the IT industry. Similarly in Hyderabad. So options are plenty. And there, of course, Mysore has to figure out, or Mangalore has to figure out how to compete with Hyderabad or Pune or even other emerging places like Vijayawada or even Trivandrum, where I was some time ago, as a large electronic public sector industry, right, also defense. That is one. But today, the bigger issue, even before we even figure out who is the best amongst the competitors in tier 2, is to make them compete for existing movement. There isn't any movement right now. There isn't, quote unquote, a business for tier 2 towns to really start competing with one another to attract whatever is being offshore or moved out of larger town like a larger city like a Bangalore. I think the first step is we have to figure out what does it take to move, in my view, activities out of Bangalore to decongest Bangalore a little bit maybe and to develop other cities and other towns. This cannot, I mean, from 4.8 million in 1994, 1995, today we are nearly what, 9 million, 8, 9 million people. I think
One small point just I would like to make, that did Bangalore happen because somebody else decided to make Bangalore happen? Or is it because of Infosys? Is it because of Wipro? Is it because of, all these individuals who really decided to make Bangalore happen? No, it was discussed.
So I think we'll take this discussion offline. Vinay, you should.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right
IT industry
after.
did not discover Bangalore, like I
Yeah,
mentioned,
yeah,
right? It
he
was
did, yeah.
discovered 3 decades before IT industry came to the city.
No,
Sure.
the point I wanted to make was, it is not about what I'm trying to say is, in fact, I would like to say that there are, this public sector undertaking across India. That's not true that just because we had, HAL or some such a companies over here, Bangalore grew. I feel that Bangalore grew because of, the entrepreneurship and the education ecosystem that we had in Bangalore.
I think a lot of factors played their role,
Correct.
and it was a
So,
mix of
the point
a
I'm
nice
trying
mix
to,
of
the
a
only
lot
point
of
I'm trying to
factors.
make it is that the cities grow because of the local people work towards making that city grow. Which means if we want to really make Hubli grow or Mysore grow, the only way to do that is focus only on the startups, because only those can afford to start a company there, because they have no choice but to start a company there. And if that culture grows in those cities, it will reach a point of inflection, and that is when those cities will start growing. So the best way probably to make those cities grow is not the way of saying, let Infosys go there and set up a shop, but as to how we can make startups grow there and
We
put our
discussed
entire
that.
energies on that. That is what I feel.
Thanks,
think,
thanks, JP. So we'll take one more question, two more questions, one from the back and thereafter
Sure.
one from the
Yeah,
front.
my name is Sridhar Shetty. I'm from Religion Global. We are a startup. I question and a suggestion both. There's so much talk about Karnataka and the tier 2, Bangalore being the biggest place, and everybody's talking about tier 2 cities. Now we have a problem, even the Devanhalli with so much headline news going on. People have difficulty, a problem going to Devanhalli in that IT park. So, the problem in a tier 2 city is no different than what is there in Devanhalli probably today. So when you set up, as somebody has mentioned, Silicon Valley in US or East Coast, New Jersey or Boston is very expensive. Then people found Dallas and Austin, other places. Why? Because those places have a fantastic connectivity. Everything is there. Connectivity, water, lifestyle, everything. So in the same thing, if you want to promote a tier 2 city, or even if you want to promote Devanhalli, you need to have all the government has to provide. What is government is good at? Government is good at providing those infrastructure, not good at building businesses. Business is our job, right? You build facilities, land, water, connectivity, electricity. You provide those things, people will automatically go there.
Point
Thank you.
taken, point taken.
Yeah, I have one question here, because if you look at the top 60 cities in the country, and we did a research along with Cushman and Wakefield, we find that none of the cities, figure in from Karnataka. So, top 60 cities. So you have cities which have not yet developed, like Raipur, figuring there. And that's really baffling, and that was a very deep research what Cushman and Wakefield had done. And they wanted to actually do this study report, an event in Bangalore. And after looking at it, I said, please don't come to Bangalore, don't do an event, because none of the cities, the tier 2 cities figure in from that list. So what is very baffling is, we find that places like Indore, places like Jaipur, multinational companies, what Vinay mentioned, have already gone there. People have established in those cities. Coimbatore, right? Vizag. You have MNCs going into all the cities over there. And whenever we talk about them moving to Mysore, or Hubli for that matter, the answer has been no. Either I continue to be in Bangalore, or I'll go to the next tier 2 cities. So it's a dangerous trend which is happening, that many of them are looking at alternate cities, because I believe the survey has shown that they save about 5 to 7% when they move to tier 2 cities. So it's a dangerous trend what is currently happening, and this Devanhalli project is actually a good project, because it may not be a tier 2 city, but at least it gives an alternate site for them to look at it, because currently, though none of the panelists mentioned, infrastructure is becoming a problem in Bangalore. Because Whitefield, people complain, they take 2 hours to go to Whitefield, right? Employees' work-life balance is getting impacted, and many of the companies having high attrition rate in Whitefield currently, because they can't move there, transportation is a challenge, metro has not come up, so on and so forth. So I think The answer is definitely the Devanhalli project is a good project, and I think we have to look at it. Tier 2 city, it's a long way. At least the report shows that it's going to take a long way, and what he said, I endorse it. Startup community is something which we have to look at it. We have to develop Hubli startup. Already we have success there, and Mysore also. And I think we will definitely look at that and support it in a big way. I think the next incubation center, madam, you should look at having in Mysore or in Hubli.
We have one in Mysore.
Mysore, of course.
Yeah. One last closing reminder, if with your permission. I have traveled, okay. I have traveled
Why
across.
didn't you identify yourself?
Yeah, I am Maulishri here, and I am the CEO for the ICT Skills Development Society, for which Tanushri Madam is the chairman. So we work with under her guidance. So I have traveled across several districts in Karnataka, the incubation centers or the skill development. And in my previous role, where I was trying to do an outreach in terms of directly dealing with college and school children for enticing them for research, I have made a very specific observation with respect to Bangalore versus non-Bangalore. The population that exists in Bangalore, if you look at native people who are originally from Bangalore, they, I think, are about 35 to 40%. Remaining 60% is actually of the best brains who've congregated from all over the country. Versus towns outside Bangalore, where you still have people who've been living in that place traditionally. So if you look at the working population, the active age group of people who are between 16 to, or let's say 15 to 21, in Bangalore city, this is of those whose parents were very aggressive, hungry, success-oriented, compared to cities outside, where there is still a feeling of settlement and, I'm not saying any positive and negative about it, but I'm just saying that you can only serve when someone's hungry. So pushing for tier 2 city top-down might not work as well as Jagdish said, trying to do a bottom-up approach. So that was my observation, so I thought I'll just share it with you. And if there's anything you want to add, you can.
I would like to,
Thank you.
With the risk of making some of maybe the politicians unhappy, I was at Mangalore for one of the IT events from Karnataka state last year. I'm vice chairman of ISA also. And there was an argument that flared up between this one IT industry that's operating there versus the local politician here who has a lot of interest for employing people who graduate out of Mangalore, Manipal, Udupi, Nitte, for example. So his argument as a politician who represents the local population is, I gave you this benefit primarily so that you will employ in a majority the local population that needs jobs. But you seem to bring people from outside. So that's creating a distrust. Number two, he said, I went out of the way. There was a drinking water problem in the villages, but I ran a water pipe specifically for you as an IT industry because you asked for water. I don't know why you need water as IT industry, but I gave you unlimited water, and then I see the water being used to sprinkle lawns. Now, me having made that commitment to you, are you using the infrastructure and the commitment of the local government in Mangalore wisely? So there was a debate that came up, right? I mean, and it's fair. Part of what is addressed is, if a company decide to go to a tier 2 town, of course there has to be some obligation to employ locals. And for example, Mangalore or Mysore has a very good talent. For some reason the talent decides to move to Bangalore. What is it that the company should do to retain them in their own cities and towns is I think that we're grappling with today, and that's probably multifaceted. But we need to crack it as an industry. Only then it can be made to work. One, how to retain local young talent there, and in addition, bring experienced talent from outside into the city to grow it further, right? You cannot just operate with very young engineers. So if we have to crack both of these, how to bring middle-aged people who have children, who are looking for lifestyle or have already spent some time in the US or Bangalore and gotten spoiled by it, encourage them to move to Bangalore. They did not be from Karnataka, but on the other side, focusing on how to retain the talent from Nitte, Udupi, Manipal, Mangalore in those areas. We have not solved it yet, but it still remains a problem. So if someone can help us crack it, I think the industry will really appreciate. But today it's a struggle still. Yeah, so that's the bottom up, I assume. how to retain people there. Incentives, etc. I think have been ongoing. STPI has set up a facility in Hubli, I think for at least 10 years ago, if I remember, Pikadas. And the facility, yeah, I mean, 10% occupation in an STPI in Hubli. Why? So it's not a top-down issue, right? The policies are there. Infrastructure has been created for 10 years now. But why is Hubli still not emerging? Now, of course, maybe startups, if startups have to be developed, it's not just the infrastructure and facilities, right? So facilities are being provided in Hubli. Exactly. So I think, yeah, so maybe it's an evolution, and you can't transform it overnight. I mean, Silicon Valley did not happen in 10 years or 20 years, right? Bangalore did not happen in 20 years. 85 to 2014, we have enriched ourselves over a 30-year period. So perhaps the tier 2 towns maybe will not take 30 years, but probably 15 years, but there's still a learning cycle involved there. So, thank you.
I think with that, we'll conclude this session. The takeaways I feel were it has to be a mix of government incentives, which has to be in tune with the needs of the industry. It has to be in terms of investment, not only in terms of small policy incentives, but also a lot of planned infrastructure that has to be in place. We have to take the jump of faith, the leap of faith, as was pointed out by some of the panelists. And we do hope that Bangalore will maintain its top position and will encourage the other tier 2 cities as well as the other tier 3 cities as well to encourage more industry, more startups to come and make Bangalore and Karnataka their home. Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was indeed a very interesting discussion. They talk about hunger. Well, earlier cricketers used to come from places like Mumbai, Bangalore and things like that, but today we have Dhonis. So hopefully IT industry, some Dhonis will come out from the various cities. Let's give a round of applause for all the panelists. I would request Srimati Tanushri Dev Barma to give away mementos to all the first to Shri P.K. Das, esteemed panelists. Mr. Das, kindly accept a memento from Srimati Tanushri Dev Barma. Also to Shri Vinay Shenoy. Thank you, sir. Anyway, some offline discussions also can happen. Also to Shri Salil Godika. And to Shri Mahesh Srinivasan. Before we leave the panelists, I would request Mr. Vinay Shenoy to give a memento to our moderator, Srimati Tanushri Dev Barma also. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of the panel discussion on Karnataka, the ITE destination. Thanks for being a part of this. Thank you very much. Take care and do attend all the sessions. Thank you.